Hey students, so this is going to just be a tutorial on how to build some options for your chassis for your robot. There are several ways of making a robot chassis, but this is just two different ways. I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that I have here, and then I'm going to show you what they look like, the different styles, and then demonstrate after that how to put them all together. So these are angle connectors. These are actually interior angle connectors. This is an exterior angle connector, but it could be an interior angle connector for like an attachment. We're not going to be using that today, but I want to show the difference of them. I have some 1/2-inch screws, I have some 1/4-inch screws, and I have something called kept nuts, which we're going to show you those a little bit closer in the demonstration. Then I have some channel brackets. I just have some long channel brackets and some medium channel brackets. And these are going to be the basis of our chassis, which a chassis is really simple. It's just the skeleton of a robot, the body of a robot. So the first thing is how the chassis are built. If you take a look, they have like an opening side here, like an indent, and then it's covered on the outside. The indent's going to be important for you. So if you're making a chassis with tires, not treads, you're going to want the indents facing outward, not down, not up, not inward. Inward makes them very difficult to use because once you start getting all the screws and everything and you have all these components that are going to be inside your robot, it'll be harder to take the screws out to make any adjustments. So put the angles outward. Now, as far as your front channel bracket and your back channel bracket, so one will go one place, one will go another place. It doesn't really matter, but I mean, if you want to connect them to attachments, you have to figure out the best way to make that work. Now, there are two ways of, there are more than two ways, but there are two ways that I'm going to do it here in this video of making a chassis. You can do a stackable chassis where you put the pieces on top. So this piece is just on top. The same thing in the back, you'd put it on the back, you just put it on top. To connect them, you would just put some screws on the insides of these brackets right in here. You just take some screws and tie those little joints together and everything will work out great. So that's one way. Another way is to have them be more linear, meaning on the same plane, either long or wide, which you can do either one. It doesn't really matter. So once you get the decision as to whether or not you want to connect them on top or on the side, you just have to add some more pieces. So for today's lesson, I'm just going to do it on the side because I think once I show you how to connect two pieces together, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. So if you're doing ones that are linear connected, then you're going to need these inside angles, and they will go right in here. It's pretty easy to do. And all you would have to do is then come up with the screws that need to go inside them and the kept nuts, which we're going to talk about too. Now, first and foremost, this is not a great chassis for a robot. I don't think. I think it's a good chassis for a robot, but it's probably not a great one. There are others that are way better, a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact, and you'll find that that is something that is probably a better advantage for you when you're creating to have like a little something, a more compact chassis, a more compact robot to get through like the maze or to be easier to use in some of the events. So for this one, again, I'm going to choose to do the linear, and I'm going to use my angles. And now I just have to choose the screws that I'm going to use. And look, both of these screws will work fine, but I think that if you're using a 1/2-inch screw, that's the 1/2 inch right there. If you're using a 1/2-inch screw, that might be too long. And I'm going to show you with a couple other pieces here. So I have some thinner pieces. And if I put them together like this, and I want to put the screw in there, there's a lot of screw coming out the back. And you may not need all of that, which is why I think a 1/4-inch screw is probably best because there's not that much coming out the back. So it won't interfere with anything else you have going on. So that's number one, figuring out the screws that you want. Once you figure out the screws that you want, you also have to figure out how to connect two pieces together. So I'm going to demonstrate by connecting these two pieces together, and then I'm going to show you one in here as well. And in this case, I have one screw hooked up, and these things, we've just labeled them flowers because they look like flowers, and just got to match up the flowers. So you're going to connect one flower to another flower. You got to make sure that the holes all line up, because if they don't line up, then it closes the holes. You can't get a screw in there. So in this case, I'm going to set up my flour. I'm going to put my screw in there. I'm going to need a screwdriver. This is a good screwdriver. It's actually dependent on depending on the type of head of the screw you're using. In this case, this is a hex head, and these are hex head screws. So obviously it fits in there. If you're using a flat head or a Phillips head, it's not going to work for those screws. So just make sure you're using the right screwdriver. This is the one that will tighten these down. Now, once I have the screwdriver and the screw, I will just put these together, and then I will put a kep nut on the other side. Now, this is where we have to see the kep nut a little bit better. So the kep nut has a little starry area, like a little washer that's kind of split on the bottom of it. This is the top of the kep nut, and this is the bottom of the kep nut. And that bottom part needs to go against the metal because the kep nut has this washer on it that locks things into place. As you tighten it, the washer like grips, and that's what those little starry things are for. But it grips only so much. Like this will eventually come loose and it will fall out. So anytime you're connecting two pieces together, you must use at least 2 screws. So when you're connecting them together, find the other screw. Doesn't matter what hole you're putting it in. There, you should be fine. And then make sure that you're tightening down at least 2 screws. I say 2 screws is good. 3 screws is great. 4 screws is excessive. You don't really need to do that unless you're putting on wheels. Then you need 4 screws because you don't want any of those to come loose. But you know, this will work for now. I only have 2 in there, but again, 3 is great. And that keeps me from being able to open it up. I have the screws into their place and I can't move it. Will they come loose? It's possible. And if one comes loose, then this whole thing could fall apart, which is why I say that 3 screws is great. But for today, we're just going to do 2 screws. And that's how to connect 2 pieces together. You can see that the kep nuts hold on to the screw and there's no extra screw sticking out. Whereas if I use those 1/2-inch screws, they'd still have some screws sticking out of there. Now, same applies to this connection here. We will need a screw, and I'm going to put a 1/2-inch screw in this one just to show you how much sticks out of it. And we just have to line up the holes. So underneath, the same thing, lining up the flowers to find the 2 holes that line up. And once I get them, I'm going to put a screw into one. And then I'm going to take another screw and I'm going to put another screw into another. And again, 2 screws is good. 3 screws is great. 1 screw is not good enough. Then I will take my screwdriver. I actually have the screwdriver in the head of the screw, which will give me some leverage so that I can then take my kep nut, put the washer inward, and then we're going to just tighten that up. I'm holding onto the washer so it doesn't spin. And I'll tighten it up just enough, and then I'll have to rotate this. I got to get my other screw in here because I brought this up for the camera to see, so the other screw dropped out, which is fine. And then I'll do the same thing. Grab a kep nut. Make sure the head of the screwdriver is into the screw, and then turn it holding the kep nut down. Let's see if I can angle that right for you. There we go. And now it's tight. Now, if you notice, this is the 1/2-inch screw. You can see how it comes out a little bit. That could cause some interference with other things that you're doing, which is why I always tell kids, go with the 1/4-inch screw. 1/2-inch screws are good, but I mean, the 1/4-inch screw is probably perfect for this particular case. Then you're going to just put this together. And when you get all 4 corners together, you will have your linear chassis. Now, remember, this is a linear chassis. So you can also do the stackable chassis, which is the same thing. You just don't need these corner angles. All you have to do is screw these 2 edges together, these 2 joints together, one here, one there, a different screw, some kep nuts, and then tighten it in, and then you have your stackable chassis, which is unlike the linear chassis where everything is on the same plane. And that is how to put 2 of these together. Now, before I go on any further, there are these 2 different angles. One is curved and one is square. The curved ones are usually used for something that might rotate because it's got to be curved. So whatever it is that you're connecting to can actually move and rotate, and the corners don't really get in the way. The other part of this is that the curved ones are also a little bit further apart. So if I tried to put these 2 together, there would be like a small little gap in here where this one holds it nice and tight. So just remember that the curved ones are not really good for the exterior. They're more, I mean, for the interior, they're more of like exterior angles. So if I'm going to do an exterior angle like this, I can put it on there. You know, if I'm connecting two pieces together that are flat, I could put the exterior angle on the outside. So that wouldn't work in here, but I'm just saying, like, there's ways of doing this so that you can use this thing. Interiors are square, exteriors are circular. And that is it. Good luck. You have your mission. Go forth, wreak havoc.